Use of English Part 2 is tricky. So here I am to help you for people who, for example, when they read a sentence like this, are sort of guessing whether they should be saying in, on, or at. Well, in this video, we're going to be going into detail on these kind of things. First, I have a little trick for you since this is the tricky series, and I'd like you to imagine that you are driving a bus along the North Norfolk coast where I grew up. You start in Sandringham, where there's a famous royal residence, and 6 people get on, and one of them might be King Charles, maybe. And you go on to Snettisham, where 4 of those people get off and 8 get on. Then we arrive at Hunstanton, which is a popular seaside town, so 9 get off and 14 get on. It's quite a busy town. We continue a little path along the coast to Brancaster, where my brother used to work in a restaurant, and 6 get off and 8 get on. And then we're going to finish up in Wells next to the sea, a beautiful seaside town where everyone gets off. And the question is, what was the bus driver's name? And at the end of the video, I'll tell you if you haven't already figured out this old little riddle, this old trick. But first, more important things, some tricky prepositions for use of English Part 2. I want you to look at these 4 questions and try and think which preposition goes best for these 4 sentences from the context. Then, as always, I'm going to tell you the answers and I'm going to explain the rules that you need to know to get this information to be able to do it on the exam. Here come the answers. Hopefully you've written something in your notes that you're always taking when you're watching my videos for study time. Well, you're going to stare at the clock in disbelief. Why do we stare at something? Well, you look at something, you gaze at something, you glance at something. All of these looking verbs go with at. That's the preposition we're using. Basically from look at, which you all know, but then all of these synonyms also use at. Now in number 2, you're going to throw the ball to someone because you are passing it to them. You throw them means pass to them. You can remember it as if you're throwing it to them, you're passing it towards them. If you're throwing it at them, this is a more aggressive trying to hit them. You're attacking them, like throw at, attack. And to throw in, to throw something in the bin, the mistake that my students always make in school, and they say, can I throw this to the bin? I mean, I don't think the bin wants you to throw it to it. It's not going to catch it. You throw something in the bin because it's going inside the bin. So a little way of remembering the prepositions there. Number 3, this is very easy, isn't it? You laugh at jokes. You laugh at, you smile at, you point at. This at is denoting the target of an action. And number 4 is a little trick as well. You arrive in Italy because arrive in for a big area, like you're in this area, and at for points. You could arrive at school at 8 o'clock. You're thinking of it like a point in a bigger area. So there we go, starting with some of our at, in, and on. The point here really is you've got at for the target of something. Let's move on. We're going to have 8 of these, as always, for our 8 Use of English Part 2 questions, covering a lot of useful grammar for you. I'll stop talking, you start thinking. Here come the answers. And they see something as something because as suggests that it's in the role of. You see these permits in the role of. It's what they do. It's their function. It's their definition. It's not like, because that would mean similar to, but it's their function or definition. Number 2 is very similar. You are disguised as something. It's ditto. And then we can also be ditto, meaning the same as. You can also be thinking about a lot of these verbs which are used with as, defined as, described as, regarded as, known as. You are disguised as because you're disguised in the role of. You're not, this is where it gets difficult. You're not really saying you are disguised similar to a delivery driver because you're trying to perfectly imitate them. Number 3, now we do get onto like, don't we? Like many artists, meaning similar to many artists. Her genius was tinged with madness, as in there was a little bit of madness. And number 4 is going to be like again, meaning for example, a slightly easier use of like that you do see on a lot of these B2C1 exams. Point here, nice way of remembering it. If you can substitute in the role of, then you probably need to say as. Right, we need to get a move on here, don't we? Or else this video is going to be far too long. I'll shut up, you answer them, pause the video. Here come the answers. Lovely C1 phrase. After all meaning after considering everything, contrary to what we said before, or in light of what we said before, basically referring to what you said before. Number 2, after a while, of course, an expression that means following in time, after in time. Number 3, since the beginning, because it's since a point in the past, the beginning of the Premier League. And number 4, I guess we could say not. I've just realized that's not a very good question. Not a day goes by. Not a great question I've made there, but hardly or barely, meaning emphasizing a small amount. You could also say not. So if you said not, well done, it's allowed. I needed to write a better question. But sometimes that happens. Point here meaning after all. Lovely C1 expression that you get that's a little bit tricky. Thinking about these time words and how time relates to each other. Number 4. Here come the answers. Number 1 is going to be at, because we are at a social event, at a party, at a dinner, at a wedding. Number 2, easy. On social media, on for all our sorts of technology, on YouTube, on WhatsApp, on TikTok, and so on. Number 3, we're still with technology. We're on a screen. The reason I don't know if this is true. I'm not the authority on this, but on is for a flat surface, right? On the wall, on the floor, on the bus. That's why we say on the bus, because you're walking on the floor of the bus. And a screen is a flat surface. And then by extension, social media and YouTube and all these things are also on the screen. So I think that's why it sounds good to say on for all these types of technology things, on TV and so on. And number 4, you're not on the car, because that would be on top of the car. You get in the car, in for inside the car. So there we go. The rule you need to remember, on for flat surfaces and some others by extension. Number 5, go for it. The class is raising money for, because this is the destination of it. The money is going to go to the charity. The money is for the charity. Obviously used with a noun, not a verb. Number 2, ought to, meaning should. We know this expression. You're responsible for. This is a good collocation with an adjective, responsible for, eligible for, and so on. And number 4, something drives you to something, means it causes it to happen, it leads to that. So different expressions that mean causation, consequences, and a lot of them are used with to. But the main thing you need to remember here is when to use for, when to use to. To with a verb, for with a noun as the destination. Number 6, pause the video, give me your answers. You'll do something on your own, meaning with no one else. Right, on your own. The other expression is by yourself, which maybe gives you a little clue for number 2. By no means a failure is a way of emphasizing, and these a lot of expressions like this for emphasis. By no means, by and large, meaning in general, the majority. And number 3 is similar emphasis expression, above all. Sleep, diet, and overall no. After all, no. Above all. We're talking about prioritizing things. So above all, meaning especially. And number 4, another emphasis, right? By far the longest. It's for emphasis again. So by is used in a few expressions for emphasis, is the point that I'm trying to emphasize there that you can remember for your B2C1 part 2. Here come the answers for this one. Oh yeah. We see where we're going with this, don't we? We've got claiming to love Spain. He does this. Is going to be a contrast. It's going to be one word followed by ing. Is going to be despite. Despite with a gerund or a noun phrase. Despite claiming, he does something different. Number 2, that's going to be although, because the weather was getting worse is a verb phrase with a subject. The weather, a verb, was getting, and an object is worse an object. I don't know, something like that, isn't it? Number 3 is the same as number 1, but you need to know both ways of saying it. In spite of, we know it's the same because we've got this ing following it again, in spite of, despite. And number 4, this is a really good question. So number 3, despite. And number 4, the answer is however. And we know it needs to be however because we got separate clauses. The final stretch, however, was surprisingly easy. The journey was long. The final stretch, however, was surprisingly easy for 2 different clauses. It would sound strange to say but here because it's more separate and however separates them a bit more. So your main point here is how to use despite, which is super common on B2, C1, and every type of English exam you might find. Our final use of English part 2 question for this video then. Of course, Number one, the answer is, you have finished it, the answer is so. We are talking about the reason or purpose for doing something, so that, very common on Use of English Part 2. Number two, the answer is also so. I guess you could say to with double O. Very doesn't really work for me. I wouldn't be very sure. That sounds a bit strange. So to emphasize an adjective. Number three, now we need such because we're emphasizing an adjective with a noun. It's such a major shift. We've got a noun in there. So sure, and then there's no noun, but such a major shift. So such is why we need, shift is why we need to make this a noun. And number four, easy, such as, right? We know such as meaning for example. So with an adjective, such with a noun is a useful rule to remember the difference here. How did you do? Did you learn a lot? Well, let's put it to the test with a quick Use of English Part 2, again from a random book that I was reading. I read this years ago and I don't remember the name now. Maybe it's called Incognito, and it's a book about how the brain works. Really interesting. Super typical C1 little text here that, you know, it makes you think a bit if you actually pay attention to it. So read it, complete the C1 questions, and hopefully enjoy it. Here come the answers. You are ranking how attractive they found the faces. Unbeknownst to means they didn't know it, and this goes with to. There's not much to learn there. I think it's just an expression. I don't know if this is possible to work it out. Number three, this is another expression, but I've seen this on the exam a couple of times. You have insight into something. Of course, from context, number four, it must be none, because you don't actually notice a 2 millimeter difference in pupils. If we understand this text, it's very interesting, and the answer must be none. And you're going to put your finger on the reason. To understand it, you put your finger on it, you identify it. Number six, correlates with. That's a fairly easy one. Number seven, at least not explicitly from context. And number eight, you are steered by the programs, the subject, the active, agent doing it. The agent, that's the word I wanted. How did you do? A tough C1 one that. If you got 5 out of 8, you should be very happy with yourself. Have a look at Incognito, a very interesting book. As we finish with, of course, the bus driver's name is whatever your name was. I said I'd like you to imagine you are driving a bus along the North Norfolk coast. So if your name is Maria, the bus driver's name is Maria. Your task, I've got another little context, another little text. I think this was from a Hard Rain, a great old book, Don Carpenter, that I liked a lot. But I think there are some nice Use of English Part 2 words in here, so this can be your task to do, which I will be doing in class with my students. Of course, these classes that I upload to YouTube are for my students that I actually teach, so I will be doing this with my student, and you can do it as well out there in the world. Hope that was useful. Enjoy. See you next time.